So it's 22:33. Like you said, there's a specific reason why that happened, but a lot of things changed. Everything changed. But we also know that the more things change, the more they stay the same. So a lot of things you read is still very recognizable as stuff that can happen today in 2024. How did you decide what to change and what to keep as it is?
Yeah, so one big change that you'll see is the head of the United Nations is now in South Africa, in Mossel Bay. And that climate change was that real. I think the Americans will like that too. There's a few elements that stay the same. So the Castle of Good Hope is still there, except at this time it's a 24-story building where planes fly out of the 23rd story. So those elements stay true to what is today. And there's an interesting scene where heroes are trying to break into this castle and they're walking through the tunnels that you are familiar with. If you go to Cape Town CBD, there's some tunnels where you can go under the city, and those tunnels can lead you to the base of the castle of Good Hope. Somewhere in the future, someone has forgotten that these tunnels are there. They're used for an illegal entry. Yeah, so that's just shows some of the elements that I keep that are still true. Those are linked to research, so they're real things. So it's all about reinforcing to the reader this could actually happen.
So being sci-fi, obviously it's action-packed. And it seems like you really enjoy writing the action scenes, nail-biting stuff. I would really like you to read a couple of paragraphs just to entice them a bit more so that they can buy a book.
So I'll read a paragraph about Lydia. Yeah, so this is where they're debating whether Micah died or not, and she's upset with Cornelius. So Cornelius shrugged. It's probably a reflection on the ice walls caused by one of Micah's instruments. But Micah's instruments don't emit a purple glow. They are blue, are they not? Lydia frowned at Cornelius' silence, but could offer no other suggestions. Shouldn't we examine every possibility that he could be alive? Cornelius looked at his watch and sighed. We've seen all there is to see, and although this is tragic, we should presume Micah is dead, Lydia. All the evidence points towards it. That airbag had only been previously tested at a fall height of 20 meters. It was designed to protect against falls in urban environments, like diving to catch a falling victim. It's highly unlikely that it would have saved him if he was at close to terminal velocity. Lydia glared at him. But he also momentarily slowed his fall in his hook. Shouldn't we count that in as a factor? Yes, I considered that, but that was at least 200 meters before impact. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. The look from Lydia could have melted ice. We are not dealing with a so-called outcome. This is my best friend you're talking about. So, yeah, you're a hero of the book, Lydia. And then I'll read an excerpt from one of the bad guys. So he is explaining how the angels managed to influence humans before the flood. Before the flood, there were stories of these giant people that used to walk the earth. And basically, so this is a bit more scientific. He took a deep breath before launching his explanation. We collected a specimen of human DNA and edited the gene to include elements that would amplify human strength. Fortunately, we were still able to cross dimensions in those days, and we did our work at a nanoscience level, long before today's electron microscopes were invented. We cut out the DNA that was unnecessary, especially the God gene and elements related to conscience, which tend to enslave humans. Abaddon stepped up and planting himself in front of Azazel took over. And our plan would have been successful if God hadn't meddled in that flood and Noah's Ark debacle. The audacity of wiping out all the humans with corrupt DNA. How dare you? Fortunately, as you saw with the likes of Goliath, we had a backup plan. Small, admittedly, but enough to cause havoc. Even so, we were never able again to correct DNA at such a grand scale.
Awesome. I'm glad you read something about Lydia. She's literally, I think, the only female in this entire book full of very strong, burly demons and angels. Tell me a bit about her and her role specifically, because she's not only strong physically, she's very strong in faith as well.
Yeah, so Lydia had a crisis of faith, so she wasn't always a believer, and something happened between her and Micah. I won't say what, but it led to having a crisis that caused her to be hospitalized for many years. And then she picked herself up. She was an ex-Marine. She became a wildlife reporter. And her claim to fame was that when the last rhinos were rolling the Karoo, she was involved in trying to protect them. But unfortunately, she missed Porter shot the last rhino, and then she popped his knees. So she's quite tough in many ways, but also can be quite vulnerable at moments. So she's a very interesting character in the book. And even the link with Micah is interesting. It's a love-hate relationship. So you never quite know where into it. And that's if Micah is found in the first place.
It is found. So Micah, Lydia's love or not, you can decide. It depends on where you are in the book. But yes, he is the love of her life, the only person she trusts, and she goes to great lengths to save him. But Micah is a non-believer, but the fact that he fell down into this glacier and is trapped now with the angel is starting to change him a bit.
If he's alive.
If he's alive.
Yes.
If he's maybe, it might change him if he's alive. What? Talk to me about the development of Micah, especially his faith.
Yeah, so it's very weird if you don't believe in the supernatural, then lo and behold, you meet an angel. So I think that shatters all your beliefs about what is real and what is not real in your life. And you can imagine the long conversations with this angel, like, explain yourself. How did you get here? Who are you? How were you created? It makes for very rich dialogue, and it forces you to confront, is there a world out there when there's actually these supernatural beings, these angels and demons? And the interesting thing about this angel is that you start to feel for him, but he's also going through this anguish because he's been trapped for over 3,000 years. So Micah might have encountered an angel that's actually quite depressed. And the biggest thing that is depressed him is that he's a fallen angel. He fell from heaven, so he doesn't fit in heaven anymore. But the bad angels and demons are very scorches. So Micah confronts that world, which is a paradox ring. It'll be interesting to see what it does to his belief system.
So the book is fiction, but it's biblically based. But in all fairness, some people might say the Bible is fiction. How would you respond to that?
The answers to that, you'll find in the book there's long debates between the believers and non-believers. And I was faithful in presenting both sides of the argument. So often in a Christian book, you have one version, but I great fun actually looking at arguments of non-believers. I looked at these famous atheists, Hawkins, for example, And I could find just contrasting what they would say to that versus someone of faith. So there's some very deep discussion or questions about life and what is beyond this life appear throughout this book.
One reviewer said that the book speaks to you morally, but it's not a sermon. Was it difficult to keep the characters in line, not to let them preach?
Yes, it was. It was often the temptation with a faith book is to use it as a preaching mechanism, but the reader hasn't bought that book to listen to a sermon. So if you pick up anything moral about it, it's from you analyzing how the characters act and respond to certain situations. And the interesting thing is, people who are meant to be of faith, like Lydia, they do some bad things. You get this, it's a humanoid, his name is JJ7. So Microsoft is ChatGPT 20 years in the future. And there's these deep conversations where JJ7 quizzes Lydia and they say, okay, Lydia, you said you were a believer, but you're doing this. My systems don't reconcile to that. And that for me was important, not to have one-dimensional characters, because in real life, I think all of us are probably fallen angels in a way, and we're never perfect.
So the age-old good versus evil trope is central to the story, and everybody loves that. It's sort of comforting. The good guy will win. Why do you think this is universally such a fantastic thing to keep on exploring?
I think it's the reason why we all like movies. When a movie starts, things are disordered, so things are not where they should be. And the reason why movies are satisfying to watch to the end is that you've got this expectation that order is restored, whether it's the good guys winning or some satisfying outcome. I actually did a podcast on this a few years ago. It was called Where Happy Endings Begin. And I was challenging the movie stereotype, where the happy ending is at the end. And in real life, you don't always get a happy ending. It will be, you can get an ending, but it might not be happy. And in this book, I do challenge the notion of what is a satisfaction. But I can guarantee you'll be satisfied.
So when we talk about endings, in the book, the end ones, or the demons, are plotting the apocalypse. And obviously in the book, you have an idea of how the world is going to end. But how are you seeing the end of the world, you as Manla, Moyo?
I try not to dwell on it, because I think I've got lots of things to do before the world ends. And I do find that if one lives life think about the end of the world, you can become fatalistic. So you're like, okay, well, why do what I do? So I think one just has to make the most of each day. If the world ends, it ends. But you can't live your life planning for an end.
Don't you think we humans are the masters of our own demise?
I think so. I think we create all the bigger problems of our own making. And I think that's part of the good versus evil debate, because people are searching for, is there a better way of humans being humans? But humans are, we're all broken. So we are masters of our own demise.
Let's talk about the research. You've mentioned around about 300 books. That's a lot of reading. What books did you read? How difficult was it to pull anything together? Yeah. Tell me about your research process.
Yeah, so I start with an outline of the whole story, the grand story, and then I spend a lot of time trying to see what blanks I needed to fill in. So, for example, I mentioned The Deepest Place on Air. That was a book in itself, finding out does the demon glacier exist? What are its characteristics? How is it formed? I didn't want to make up something that doesn't exist. And then the other elements of the book, like the science, I talked about the DNA. I think I read about 20 chemistry books. Just trying to figure that out because one of my theories in that book was that if you look at the picture stories about Goliath, my theory was that this was a human whose DNA had been tampered with, and that's why they all speak. The end is bad angels and handled. So I read on how deep DNA is it possible, gene editing. It might feel too detailed, but I'll need to be satisfied that the hypothesis that I presented in the book could actually happen. So if you look at my workings, there's post-its everywhere, there's scribbles and notes, and I'll maybe go for a run, and another thought comes to me, and then I run back and quickly scribble it down for later research.
I really love the fact that you just didn't go and do a Google search and the first Wikipedia page was good enough for you. This really shows dedication. The book leaves you hanging. You know, there's a cliffhanger. We don't like that. So, but hopefully that means there's more to follow. Is this the start of a series? What can we expect next?
Yes, it is the start of a series. I won't explain what the cliffhanger is, but there is a conclusion of the current story. But when you get halfway through the book, you'll see another bigger story emerging, and that will be the sequel.
This book also reads a bit like a movie, hey? So when you started writing or when you were busy writing, did you think, Netflix? Or did it just so happen?
Yeah, so I wrote it as a movie because I wanted to create a series of vivid images in the reader's mind. The whole book is time-stamped. So from that time that Micah vanishes, a clock starts counting down where if he were to leave, his oxygen would only last in so long. So you'll see throughout the book, every chapter reminds you of how much time is left before a rescue is viable. So you're picturing this countdown. And also in the way that I described the elements of the book, I had a movie in mind. So it is going to be vivid in terms of how you it's vivid.
I want you to think of a question or two, but I want to know from you. Last question from me. What is the main central message that you want to impart on people when they finish reading the book? This is what you want them to feel.
I want people to think about this supernatural world that could exist, or maybe doesn't exist, and when this is actually possible, and what role does my life have to play in terms of the bigger scheme of things.
Fantastic. I love chatting to you. I can go on forever. Unfortunately, our time is pretty much up, but any questions from the audience? I'm sure there must be.
Do you appear in the book?
No, unfortunately not. But my two sons make a brief appearance. She's in our acknowledgements.
That's good enough.
You mentioned some leaning towards horror. Am I going to have to sleep with the light on at night, or is it manageable horror?
It is manageable. As I mentioned, I failed to make it as horrifying as I thought. If you read the likes of Dean Koontz or Frank Peretti, the dark horror theme pervades throughout the book. But this is not one of those books. This is one of those books where You might get an occasional fright, but not a sense of doom.
So Monday's a more adult fiction or teenagers reading?
Yes, so when I showed it to my son, the sons, they're like, finally, here's a book that you could actually read. And so it is, Amanda did say it's for a thinking reader. So there is some thought required, but from teens to 8-year-olds will read it. And the interesting thing in the sequel, there's a teenage name of the teen as images.
How far are you to see?
So I've drafted outline. So I would have rewritten it last year. So this book, I actually wrote it in March last year, before the release of Conquer Your Mountains. But for publishing reasons, we spaced the books out. So Conquer Your Mountains was released, and then there was a 6-month gap. So the outline is drafted. You only chapter 18 yeah. But I need 12 feet to write a sequel. If you give me that time.
It's science fiction, so you can say it's uncharted. What was your personal learning as a writer into the uncharted territory? But how to say this the biggest learning of writing?
I'd say my biggest learning was how to write dialogue. So I never appreciated the importance of dialogue in writing. So with my accountant brain, and initially it was all about fact and what happens. But what I realized about dialogue is that it creates a conversation in your mind as you read it. And my biggest learning was how to create rich dialogue, because as you read it, you feel like you're watching the conversation. That was my biggest learning.
Among the redesign the cover,
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Luckily, it's blue.
It's blue. Yeah, so blue is my favorite color. I wanted my first book to be blue, but I didn't succeed, and then that was my main influence. And the way it looks the cover is that Penguin appoints a number of cover designers. They all submit different versions, and a panel then decides on which covers are the most appealing. As an author, I get to contribute. Fortunately, I'm not the one that decides on the cover.
Yeah, it's scientific. Really, you can't just choose a cover. it's quite cool.
Yes.
Any more questions?
So from what you have said, picking some things from Revelations and some things from Genesis. So are there any other words that you drew from?
I drew from almost every book. So, just to give an example, this fallen angel, the reason why the demons have beef with him is that there's a story in Daniel. Daniel has this vision and he's disturbed. And God sends, what was it that he said? Okay. Testing a biblical knowledge. So he sends Gabriel to tell him the meaning of the vision. But Gabriel is held up for 21 days by this prince of darkness. So the way I've extrapolated it is Gabriel and the fallen angel had some history. The fallen angel realized that Gabriel was stuck and helped to free him from the clutches of this prince of darkness. And that's why the other demons stopped trusting him, because he turned on them. So that's how I integrate some biblical facts with my artistic license.
That's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Again, thanks to Alan and Exclusive Books for hosting this event. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you for having me.